Hi everyone, welcome to Isima Gold tutorial. Welcome. So today I'm going to be teaching us how I came about this blouse blazer with a very exaggerated sleeve. If this looks like what you want to watch, please stay back. I'm going to be teaching from the basic, the cutting, the sewing, step by step on how this sleeve was achieved and every other thing. Please do well to like my videos and share and kindly subscribe to this channel because I promise to keep giving you more and more. So Sima lovers, if this looks like what you want to learn, stay glued to this channel from beginning to the end. Make sure not to skip any part as every part of this tutorial is very important. So relax, enjoy as I'm going to be teaching everything. Okay, so I'm going to be starting with the basic bodice. Now my paper is folded into two because I need a full front to be able to make this style. So the first thing I'll do is to draft my basic bust here. So here I have my shoulder measurement and my shoulder measurement is 16 divided by 2, that is 8. I have my armhole. I'll put my shoulder slope of 1 inch first, and then I'll go ahead to put my armhole depth, which is 9 inches. For my armhole depth, you do your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. So that's how I arrived at my 9 inches immediately after the shoulder slope. So I'll still place on that point, I'll still place my shoulder measurement, and then I'll draw my straight line to connect my armhole. After that, I'm going to be fixing in my bust measurement, which is 46 divided by 4, give me 11.5. I'll get the mid armhole, the middle of the armhole, which is 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. So I'm taking it in here. So on this 4.5, I'll go inward by half of an inch. Then from this point, I'll connect to this point and then connect to this point. After that, the next thing I'll be doing is to mark my shoulder to waist, which happens to be 18.5. Then I'll do my shoulder to under bust, which is 15 inches. Shoulder to bust point 11.5. Then for my blouse length, I have the length of 30 inches. I'll just be doing 30 inches for now. So after that, the next thing I'll be doing is to take my darts. So from here, I will measure 4.5 from the center front, 4.5 from the center front, 4.5 from the center front. So after doing that, by this side, towards the center front side, I'll be going inward by 1 inch. I want it to have the kind of bust. I want it to be a bustier style. So from here, at this, from the waist and also the under bust, I'll go inward here by 2 inches. While by this side, I'll go inward by 1 inch. So I'll do my 2 inches straight down and straight down. So this is the under bust UB, this is the waist, and this is the nipple point. Then from this nipple point, I'll connect like so, and then connect like so. Then this part I'll connect it to this mid armhole point. Then I'll come down by 1.5 and I'll connect it to the bust point. After that, I'll just come out from here to towards here by 1.5, and I will blend it in. Having done that, the next thing I'll be looking out for is the neck style. So I want the width of my neck to be 4.5. I'll connect it to my shoulder slope. Then I'll give it a slant here. So let's say I now come down by say 4 inches. I give it a slant like so. So this slant is from here is a total of 4.5 inches, and then I will now curve it back. So I want to change. Let me do it down to like 5.5. So from here to here it should be 5.5. Then I'm targeting at least 3.5 inches here. So I'll blend it like this. So if you want here deeper, you can just let me just keep adjusting till I get the perfect fit I want, and then I'll give us the measurements. So I think okay, so I've gotten the neck that I want. So I'll give you the length, the depth now. So from here to this point I have about 6.5. Then from here to this point I have 3.5. So I connected from here to this point just like so. That's what I have. So now, having gotten all I need for this style for now, I'm going to be using my tracing wheel to trace it so that it can reflect at the back of this. Then I'll trace it out, and then I will draft the back of it. But before that, let me just impute my waist and my hip measurement. My waist divided by 4 is 9.5. So I will just impute my 9.5 here. And then my hip measurement is not complete, so I'm going to be attaching paper here to complete my hip measurement. So if your hip measurement is complete, you can go ahead and do so. So I'll attach paper here and fix my hip measurement at this down part, and then trace. So I've attached the paper here. I chose to just show us. Let's do this together. So now the waist is 9.5. So this is 9.5, and so I'm connecting it from the bust to the waist. Now the hip measurement is 11.5, so I'm going to be putting 11.5. I'll measure from here to here. I have 3.5. I'll pick it up. I'm going to be cutting out this, so there will be no need for me to attach that. So I'll pick up my 3.5 and place here and continue until I get my 11.5. So having gotten the 11.5, I will now connect it to the waist measurement, and then I will cut it out. So I have my complete measurements now in place. So I'll use my tracing wheel like I said initially, and then I will trace. But before I continue the tracing, I want to avoid anything that will make this shape, this neck side, not to relax. So I'm going to be doing what is called gaping tightening or neck tightening to avoid hair from gaping at all. So I'm going to just use my eye and look at the middle point, the middle part of this curve, and then I'm going to draw a line like so. And then I'll take about half of an inch from here. Then having taken the half of an inch from here, I will just take it back into this line. So when I'm done cutting all of this, I'm going to show us what the job of this is going to be. So I'll just continue. I'll still trace it so that it can reflect on the other side. And I'll continue the tracing. I'm making sure I'm tracing every point of this. So having traced it out, I'm going to bring it out like this. And I'm going to just use my biro to mark out all the traces I did earlier on. Then I'll still trace out this dark part that I did on the neck, and then I'll just continue all the traces like so. So I've gotten all what I want now. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to run the design at the down part. Okay, so for this down part, I'm going to be coming up here by 5 of an inch. That's 5 inches. But I would rather prefer that I cut all of this first, so that I'll mark there and then we'll have the full outcome of it. So let me cut first. Then I'll go ahead to cut this part too. Then I'll keep these two side fronts first of all, and then we'll come to this neck part. So here, I will just tuck here in by 1/2 of an inch. And I'll mark that shape I gave the neck, so that this upper part will be very firm. I'll come to this other side. I'll repeat the same thing. That way, whatever gaping that would have happened here that will make it not to relax, I have worked on it and it's not going to be gaping again. So just make your paper as flat as possible. So that way, this is what we have. This is what we have for the center front, our neck style intact. And then the two side fronts. So the next thing I'll do is to work on the down part of this blouse. Now we'll finish working on the upper part of the blouse. So I'm going to be putting this together. You can mark if you want. I'm just going to be putting it together like this. Then for this side, I'll come up by 2 inches. For this side, I'll go up by like 7 inches. For this side, I'll still go up by 2 inches. Let me just place something to make it firm. I'll try to make my hand come down first using a cuff. When I get here, I will start making my hand go up. Go up to that 7 inches and then start curving it down again. I can make it come down a bit first, then make sure when it comes down here a bit, I can now blend it back into that 2.5 inches I went up by. So I'll repeat it again. I went up by 2 inches here, I went up by 7 inches here, I went up by 2 inches here. So from these 2 inches, I started curving it a bit, like this, towards the ending of this blouse length. Then I curved it towards that 7 inches, and then I curved it again. If you notice, the distance between here and here is different, is a bit different. So I still came down, although not to the tip this time around, but somehow closer to the tip before I blend it up to that 2 inches point that I marked. So after that, I'm going to be cutting. Now this is how the shape of the front is. So after that, I want to have a bit of a plungy hip, but I don't want so much plungy hip, like to say adding of an extra hip to this dress. So what I will simply do is to take note of the waistline. I will get an extra pattern paper. You can do this while you are drafting the paper, your main bodies too. So for me, I just decided to add a plungy hip now, so that's why I'm doing that now. So while you are drafting your own fabric, if you want a plungy hip, just add extra 1.5 inches to it. So just make sure the paper is above your waistline, because you are going to start the covering from your waistline. So what we are going to do is, at this point, you are going to come out by 1.5 inches extra. 1.5 inches extra. I'll just mark it straight. I'll come towards this point. I'll come out by 1.5 inches extra. And then I'll start from my waistline and I'll start curving it like so. Then I'll just blend it so that the curve at the down part will blend. Still up to this line. I'll still come towards this side. From the waistline, I'll curve it. I'll give it that nice curve. Then just try to blend it into this blouse. Then I'll cut. I'll repeat the same thing like so. So that way now, everything about the front is ready. We'll go over to the back. For the back, I'm just drafting a basic back bodice, but the length I'm going to be using now will be this length. Now in cutting the front, I use a length of 30. So in cutting the back now, I'm going to be using a blouse length of 28, because at the two ending of this place now, I reduce them by 2 inches. So my blouse length is supposed to just stop there. Any extra length is the design of the front. So I'm just going to be doing the back length 28. Now if peradventure I feel like, which is what I want to do now, I feel like I want here to be higher, I can still go up by 1 inch. I can still go up by 1 inch here and just blend it, and still blend it just from here. like so. I can still just blend it just like so, and I'll still cut depending on the final look you want the outfit to have. I think I am okay like this now. So it means that my back will be 27 and not 28, because now totally I've reduced this side seams, this side part by 3 inches. So 30 minus 3 inches is going to give me 27 as the back length. So that's what I'll be using for the length of the back. So now the front is ready. I'll just go over to draft the back bodies. So we are going to draft the back now. I'm going to be marking the shoulder. The shoulder is 8 inches. That's 16 divided by 2. So this is 8 inches. And then my shoulder slope is 1. My armhole depth is 9 inches, like I said when we were drafting the front. And then I insert my 8 inches here and then take it up. My bust measurement is 11.5. My shoulder to waist is 18. I'll mark it. My waist is 9.5. So my hip measurement is 11.5 plus my 2 extra inch for the plunging hips. So that makes it 13.5. So I'll be marking 13.5 here. So this is 13.5, and then I'll connect it to the waist measurement for now. Now for the waist line, I would go in for my dart by half of an inch and half of an inch straight. Sorry, by 5 inch. I'll go in by 5 inch. Then at this point, I'll mark half of an inch and half of an inch on both sides. After doing that, I'll connect it like so. Then I'll come up here by 1 inch and connect this and connect this. After doing that, I'll get the middle of this armhole, which is 4.5. I'll come in by half of an inch and then connect to my bust measurement. Then the next thing I'll do is to connect here to the mid armhole with a curve. Then from here to here, I'll make sure it's 1 inch. Then I'll blend into this like so. Then on this waistline, I'm going to go in by 1 inch. Then for my neck, I would mark the same 4.5 inch width that I marked for the front. I will just make everywhere to be 4.5 inch, 4.5 inch, and then I'll connect. Then connect this to the shoulder slope. Then from this back tightening, I'll just connect it to the neck part. Come up here by 1 inch from the hemming part and connect like so. Then while drafting, I took 1 inch here and another 1 inch here, making a total of 2 inches. So I'll come here and replace it like so. Then connect it back to my hip measurements. Don't worry if you are having a shape that looks like this. You just replace. When you are fitting, everything will fall into place. So after this, the next thing I'll do is to cut. So I have my back ready, and I have my front ready. So this is the back and the front together. The next thing I'll be doing now is to transfer all of this to the fabric. So I'm going to bring my fabric and we'll cut together. Okay, so I want to cut the fabric now. So I have my front placed here. And I have my side front placed by the sides. I'm going to make sure I place them like this because they both do not have the same shape. Remember, this part has this cut while this part does not have that cut. So for my sewing allowance, I am adding 3 inches on all the sides. So this is the 3 inches and this is the 3 inches. On this side, we'll mark 3 inches, 3 inches, and 3 inches. So after that, I'll cut. So when you get here, where this list starts from, it's best advised that you mark it. So I'll just continue cutting. I'm done cutting the front. I kind of missed the clip when I was cutting, so I'm just going to explain. I added sewing allowance to the side, which is 3 inches here, and I added 3 inches to this side. And after that, I added stay so that I'll give it a bit of structure. And I cut the lining, but I'm supposed to add tissue stay to this lining, but currently I don't have tissue stay or paper stay, whichever one is called at your location. I'm supposed to add it to the lining to give it more strength, but I don't have that, and I'm just going to go ahead to make this dress for myself as I want to rock it. So this is a front. The front is ready. I'll go right ahead for the back. Nothing serious for the back. I just cut the back like so, and I cut the lining. I added 3 inches sewing allowance to the side, and I added 1.5 inch zip allowance to the back. So we are all going to go to the sewing machine and sew this dress together before we talk about the sleeve. I'll be cutting the sleeve after I am done making this dress together, putting up this this blouse together. That's when I'm going to cut the sleeve. So we'll be seeing that in the... Okay, so I'm done coupling this, the front. So I'll go ahead and couple the lining and couple the back. When I'm done coupling, I will now show us how I turned it with the lining, and we'll proceed. Okay, so I am done turning the back. This is then I fix the zipper, so it's just a normal basic turning. So I will just show us what to do to the front. So now for the front, I have this part that has a slit, and I already turned the lining, joined the lining too. So what I'll do is to hem this part, but I'll be using my hemming gum to join them together. I'll couple this part too. Then I'll come to this neck part. I'm still going to turn it but I'm still going to use my hemming gum here. If you want it to have structure, you can add crinoline, but I think I'm fine without the crinoline. So I'll turn the neck part too, and then turn the side. After doing that, I'll turn it out from the armhole part and give it a good press and show us. So you are turning the down part from this side up onto this slit and towards this side, and all the other turnings that you have to do. So I'll do that and show us. Okay, so I am done coupling the bodies of the dress. I fitted it and I added my zipper. So this is what it looks like. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now is to draft my sleeve measurement. So I will first of all measure my round armhole. My round armhole is 10 and a half. So I'll keep it aside. And I'll bring in my pattern paper. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to get from this side. I'm going to be measuring 3 inches. So I'm going to be having 3 inches all through. Then from here to here, I'm going to be marking the length of my sleeve, which is 21. So after marking 21, I'm going to be measuring from here to my elbow, which I have 12. Now this is 12. Then here I'm going to be fixing in my armhole, So let me make sure that it is up to 10. Exactly. I will be leaving it at 11 and a half. Then at this point, which is the length of the sleeve, where I measured my length of the sleeve, I'm going to be fixing in my round sleeve. My round sleeve is 11, so I'm going to be marking 5 inches here, because 11 divided by 2 is 5. So I'm going to connect this armhole part to the 11 to this sleeve length. Now we'll come to the reason why I added this. The simple thing I would do is to come like so and connect this. Just give it the shape that you want. After giving it the shape that you want, the next thing you do is to cut. So this is what I have now. You can see the 3 inches. This place from that elbow part that I carved up. So the next thing I'm going to do is to transfer this to a fabric, and then around this part of the fabric, I'm going to be putting my collar stay. So I'll do that and show us. Okay, so I'm done cutting this. Now this is what I have. Let me keep this one aside. This is what I have. You see that from From that 3 inches, that part is closed. So when cutting, make sure that that part is closed. Then you can start cutting down. Then after that, because of the nature of my fabric, I wanted the fabric to be put together so that they don't fray out, because fabric is a wool-like fabric. I had to put a stay all through. Then I went ahead to put collar stay from the elbow to the next elbow, and then I put my collar stay to this point, and then I cut the color that I want to be reflecting under exactly the same way. So I cut it this color black. I cut it already. So what I am going to do right now is to go to the sewing machine. I will place this on top. I will first of all, but this side I have that shape, I will turn it round, tuck it in, and give it a good press. Then I'll show us, I'll come to the table and show us, then I'll go over to the next step. Okay, so I am done turning it like this. So this is what I have. This is what I have. You see that 3.5 inches is closed, while the armhole side is opened. I just turned it by that side. You can see that the shape is already there. So by the time I go to the sewing machine now, I'm going to measure that 11 inches where the elbow starts from, and I'll close up, and then I'll close up my armhole side straight down, and then attach this to the armhole of the dress. Then after that, I already have a small flare here. I'm going to attach it here, and then our sleeve will be ready, and I'll show us. But I already made one, so let me show you. So this is what it looks like when I was done with the one I made. So you see, this is the outcome of what you are going to have. You see that this place, hello, you see that this place is okay. You see the sleeve, the flare attached to the sleeve, and that's that. So when I'm done fixing this one, I'm going to put it on and show us the final outcome. Do well to like my videos and share them to people that it will be useful to. And also, if you have any question, I would be more than happy to answer you on the comment section. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Have a nice time.